I think the timing of this couldn't be more important. And I want you to really think historically, the long view. And I want you to look inside your own heart. Anytime you have measured your relationship with another person through the lens of racism or religion, every time you've thought you were more important than somebody else, every time you bullied somebody else, every time you took some kind of a superior high road because you thought you were better than somebody else, you're taking a step towards what created the Holocaust and created Adolf Hitler. Think in those terms, because what you're going to hear and what you're going to learn can change your life.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you very much for coming to listen to me. And I hope whatever you hear today, that you can tell your parents, your neighbors, whoever you meet, because so many people are forgetting about the Second World War, what happened. So anyway, my name is Schindler. I was born in 1929 in Czechoslovakia. I come from a family of 8 children. I am Jewish. Of course, my parents were Jewish. I had 6 sisters and 2 brothers, 5 sisters and 2 brothers. We lived in a village in called Serenya, which was, right now it's Russia. Okay, no, the Ukraine, right now it's the Ukraine. When we were living there was Czechoslovakia, and in 1938, Hungary took over. You know, Hungary and Hitler were allies. And Hungary did all of Hitler's dirty work. I don't know how many people know that. So they were pretty anti-Semitic, the Hungarians. So anyway, so in 1938, I was 9 years old. Okay, I was born in 1929, okay? I had 3 years of education in my whole life, okay? So in 1938, when the Hungarians marched into our town, taking over everything else, the first thing was all the Jewish kids were not allowed to go to school anymore. And all the Jewish businesses were taken away. So things were not so good, let's put it that way. So, but they said nothing else is going to change. Just those 2 things are the major things. So as we go on till 1944, all kinds of things are happening. All our friends that we went to school with, we were neighbors and friends, and while this was happening, all the non-Jewish kids started calling us dirty Jew, throwing rocks at us. All of a sudden, the Jews were 3rd-class citizens, and we couldn't do anything right. And things were getting pretty bad, okay? But we had to, when we saw some non-Jewish kids trying to, call us names and throw rocks at us, we would just get away because we never had the right to do anything. We were not right. So we just had to keep to ourselves, okay? So things were, as long as we were together with the families, this is 1944, by the way, okay? 1944. As long as we're together, that's all that matters, because, they started collecting all the Jews of Europe in 1939. So in a way, we were lucky that they didn't come till 1944, okay? So during this time, things were not so good between 1930 and 1944. All the men in our town were taken on slave labor. They would be picked up on a Sunday morning and brought back Friday night, all the men. The women, they were left behind, okay? So that continues, and anyway, so in 1944, Passover, 1944. 4 weeks before Passover, a half a dozen SS soldiers. We never saw any SS soldiers before, the German soldiers. This was all Hungary doing all the work. SS soldiers march in, and of course a lot of the Jewish girls had to be very careful because they found out that some of these soldiers were trying to molest some of the Jewish girls. So I remember my 2 older sisters. I had 2 older sisters and an older brother, and I had 3 younger sisters and a younger brother. So the women in our town, some of the Jewish girls, They were afraid that the SS would molest the girls, so some of the women would go to the forest and hide. You know, we lived in a village where I don't think we had 1,500 people or so, and the forest was very close. So I remember the women, some of the women going in the forest because they were afraid that the SS are going to knock on your door and request certain things, okay? So this is going on till, as I said, 1944 and 1944, one day after Passover, okay? My mother, you know, my mother used to do all her baking, all the cooking. You know, everything we lived on in our town was grown in our, we lived on a farm, okay? We lived on our farm, and everything we grew, we ate. If we didn't grow it, we didn't eat it. There were no stores where you could go and buy anything. The only store we had in our town was a store where you could go and buy stuff that we couldn't make or stuff that we couldn't grow, okay? So, so as I said, everything was in our backyard. We lived in 3 rooms, by the way. 3 rooms, we were 10 people, no bathroom in the house, no electricity. We lived a very primitive life, but you know, it was a beautiful life before the war. Because you know something, if you don't have something, you don't miss it. You only miss it after you have it. So we didn't know any difference, and we had really a nice life. And you know, all the Jewish men, all the fathers, okay, they were tradespeople. We didn't have schooling in our town past middle school. If anybody wanted to get higher education, they had to go to the next city, which was, we had a big city of 20,000 people, was Munkach, and they had, you know, about 20 kilometers, okay, which is about 20 miles. And then we had another city on the other side, which was Munkach. And they also had quite a few, many thousand people, maybe 15, 20,000 people. And the thing is, my town, if anybody wanted to go from Munkach to Ungvar, they had to go through our town. That was the only road. So we used to have people stop by and, you know, like bars, but they used to stop by for a sandwich or a glass of milk or something like that. So anyway, so one day after Passover, you know what Passover is? How many Jewish kids here? I know there must be some, because some of my friends' grandkids are here, okay? So during Passover, by the way, of course today it's not like it was 70, 80 years ago. You know, we were very orthodox, we were religious. During Passover, we didn't eat bread, we eat matzahs, okay? You know what a matzah is? It's a cracker, 12 inches by 12 inches. So, and my mother used to do all the baking, so one day after Passover, what are we going to do? There, you know, 10 people, you have to feed 10 people, and there's no bread in the house. You know, bread was one of the biggest, main thing in the household. Bread and butter with some jam on it. Anyway, so my mother said to him, go to the bakery, we had the bakery, and get a bread, okay? So I go to the bakery, and you know, in Europe, all towns have farmers' markets. And I think that's how this started in this country. People brought it over here. A lot of things are brought to this country from Europe, okay? Different things. So, and you know what we did in farmers' markets? We would trade. We wouldn't go and sell stuff, we would just go and trade. You know, we had chickens, we had geese, we had ducks, we had a cow or 2 or whatever. And we used to have a lot of stuff that maybe we didn't need. So, but what if we had any extra stuff that we wanted to get something else, we would go to the farmer's market, which was the middle of the town, and we would barter. You know what bartering means? Changing, okay? Say we had too many eggs, so my mother maybe would send me to go take the eggs and get some butter or some cheese or something, okay? Anyway, so I'm walking to go to the bakery, and there this man is making an announcement. And of course we had no newspapers, no radios, not that we didn't have it, never had it. It was also against the law to have newspapers or radios, okay? And maybe there were 1 or 2 people in our whole town that would have a radio, but there was never any newspapers. And this man is making an announcement. So how do you make announcements? He used a drum. He would go to the middle of on the farmer's market, the center, and he would use a drum, and that's how people would get together to listen to the news. And this man is making these announcements. All the Jewish people have to report to the school. We are going to be taken away, okay? Everybody is entitled to take 1 bag, of course, or luggage. We had no luggage. We never traveled in those days. Nobody can imagine how primitive it was, but it was fine because we didn't know any different. Anyway, so of course we did have a fabric store in our town. So my mother, you know, she probably went and got some burlap and sewed up some bags. So we each had something to take our, whatever we want to take with us, okay? So, and my mother said to me, put on a couple of dresses, couple sets of underwear and socks, because we don't know if we're going to have a chance to do laundry. And this is April 1944. The temperature was under 30 degrees. You know, we would have, the snow would settle in around September, October, and it wouldn't leave before April or May. We had 5-6 months of winter, very cold weather, okay? Just like what they have back on the East Coast right now. Anyway, so we all get dressed and we're taking our bags with us. And we took our stuff, what we wanted. Of course, we didn't have much because in those days, you had maybe 1 or 2 pairs of shoes or 2 dresses. We didn't, nobody can imagine the primitiveness how we lived. Anyway, so we're walking to, all ready, everybody with a bag. We walk to the center of town, and they take our names, and they said, if anybody has any jewelry, leave it here, and when you come back, you'll get it back. So you know what? BS. I don't like to use those words, but you know, that's what it was. And I think my parents already knew that maybe that's not a good idea. So my father put a few pieces of jewelry together, and we didn't have much jewelry. There was no jewelry. I mean, my father had a wedding band, a watch, and on a chain, and my mother had a wedding band and maybe earrings and a necklace, and that's it. So I am wearing a necklace on my neck. Can you see it? This was from my father's pocket watch. I wear this every day in my life because I think he's with me. And that's how I think I'm living this long. I don't know if anybody knows, but I just turned 88. So anyway, so this is a very important thing for me. So anyway, so of course my father said to my 2 sisters and me, he put the jewelry into a little shoe polish box. You know what a shoe polish box is? I don't know if anybody knows anymore. It's a little round, like a 3-inch thing around, and you polish your shoes, okay? So he put the jewelry in a shoe polish box. He said to my 2 sisters, I want you to come with me. I want to hide the jewelry, so when you come back, you will know where it is. So I think my father had some knowledge, maybe what's going on. So my 2 sisters said, we are not interested, so I told my father, I'm going to go with you. I was always first to do things. I'm always first to get spanked because I do things I shouldn't do, and I was a tomboy, I guess. I was supposed to be a boy anyway. My mother had 6 girls and 2 boys, and they wanted more boys. I don't know why, but anyway. So I tell you why, because when boys get married, they don't need dowries. And when girls get married, they need a dowries. You know what a dowry is? Come with lots of money. Okay. So anyway, so we go to the school, and so of course my father and I hid the jewelry. And and when we came home after the war, I was the one that went and I said, I know where it is. So we divided the jewelry between my 2 sisters and I. So I ended up with this chain. And as I said, I wear it every day. The only time I don't wear it is if we go to a fancy affair and there's other jewelry, so it just wouldn't look right. So anyway, here we are at the school, and they're putting us on oxen-driven wagons, okay? 50, 60 or more people in each oxen-driven, after they take our names, okay? And we go to the next town, which is Uzhhorod, and they put us at a train station. The reason they put us there, so we should be ready to ship away, I guess. That's why they put us there. It's a big, wide, open area, and this train, there was a big brick factory over there, and they would ship all their bricks from there to all over that part of the world. So it took, I bet you, so they squeezed us in this oxen-driven wagon, and I tell you, I could have walked it faster. I don't know if anybody knows what an ox is. You know, if you don't see it, maybe you don't know what it is. But it has 4 legs. Anyway, it's good to laugh, guys. So we're going and going and going. I don't know how long it took. Finally, we get to Ungvar, and they're bringing all the Jewish people from all the little villages that are surrounding the big cities. There's a lot of villages in Europe with maybe 500 people, 300 people. I'm sure we used to have that here too before, years ago, where, like La Jolla. I don't even know if La Jolla was there in those days, okay? So, or other little towns. So I said from all that area, they would bring all the people in, and we didn't have the buildings, but we had tents. They put up some tents, and they must have put in, I don't know how many people in each tent, and this is April 1944, it was very cold. We probably kept each other's body warm, because remember, it's probably 25 degrees. Of course, we all took our winter clothes, okay? And the best winter clothes we had, okay? So here we are, and I don't know, and they had hundreds and hundreds of people in this area, and they had the area surrounded by men and dogs and guns, and they said if anybody would try to run away, they're going to shoot them on the spot. So here we are in this place, and so every day they're shipping people away to Auschwitz. They brought us there to send to Auschwitz. I don't know if anybody knows about Auschwitz. That's in Poland, okay, where they had the gas chambers, okay? So after being there, I don't know how long, I really don't know, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, I have no idea. Finally, it came our turn to be taken to Auschwitz. They put us on a train with no seats in the train. It was a cattle train. No windows, maybe a 4-inch by a 12-inch slat on each side of the train. They squeezed us in like maybe 80 to 100 people in that, like herrings. You couldn't move, okay? They locked the door and off we went. The train is going and going, people are passing out, people are crying, people are screaming. It's all ages, from infants to grandparents, complete families. Finally, after maybe 1 day, 2 days, I have no idea how long it took us. I'm sure at least 1.5 days or maybe more. Finally, the train slows down and the door opens, and a young man comes on the train in a striped uniform. He's one of the survivors. I just want to tell you that all the dirty work in Auschwitz and the camps was done by the Jews. If they wouldn't do it, they would kill him. They had no choice. And some of the people that would work in the gas chambers, they might get an extra slice of bread for the day. Okay, that was their extra stuff for doing that. We had no choice. So this man in a striped uniform comes up on the train, and he says he came on the train to help us with our luggage. Okay, so he comes to me, he says, how old are you? I said, I'm 14. He says, tell him you're 18. Okay, I didn't ask any questions, and he walks around and he asked my sister Helen, she was holding my hands for my 8 or 10-year-old sister, I'm not sure which one. And he said to her, is this your child? She said, no, this is my sister. Okay, so we get off the train, and we march for a couple of minutes. All the selection were done on the train station, okay? It was a huge train station over there. And we come in front of 3 SS soldiers, and one of them was Mengele, I believe, okay? And 5 in a row, we're walking, and he says to points to my father and my brother to this line, my mother and 3 sisters and brothers to this line, and my 2 sisters another line. He says to me, how old are you? I said, I am 18. And my sister Helen said, oh no, she's only 14. She thought I would be better off if I go with my mother. I mean, we were taken like sheep to the slaughter. We had no idea where we're going. We were so primitive. We didn't know what's ahead of us. Anyway, so so I said, oh no, I am 18. He let me go with my sisters. Otherwise, I would have gone with my mother and 3 sisters and brother straight into the gas chamber. Never saw my sister and 3 brothers again. So here we are standing in line for further orders. Finally, they march us to a building, which is everything is done in Auschwitz at the train station. We come in there to this room, big room, and they told us to take all our clothes off and put it on a big pile, shoes and everything, and then they shaved all our hair, not only the head, but everywhere else. They shaved our hair everywhere, and then they gave us different clothes. They did not give us back our own clothes, let me tell you. Because you know when you travel, you always travel in your best clothes, right? When you go on vacation, you're not going to take rags, right? So of course we all traveled in our best clothes. So they sent, I understand all the clothes that we brought to Poland, Auschwitz, was sent to Germany for their use, the family, okay? All we got was rags. One dress I got was down to the floor, okay? No underwear, no clogs, no shoes, okay? This is April, the end of April or beginning of May of 1944. So finally we go outside, and while we're in the bathroom, which is a room, I don't know if it's really a bathroom because we didn't see any sinks or anything, but I believe that the same building had the gas chambers, that's what they say. So I really don't know because I didn't see it. So we go outside and they line us up 6 in a row and we're waiting for further orders, and it's freezing cold. So I tore a piece of the dress up from the bottom and I put it on my head because, you know, when you have a head of beautiful black hair like a lot of you here, and then they shave it all off in April in the cold weather, you are going to tell how cold it is, okay? So as I said, I tore a piece off and I put it on my head to keep my head warm. So finally they waiting and waiting, and as we are waiting, there's a man with a gun and a dog standing next to my sister Judy, and behind the building there's a fire. You see fire, you see smoke, you hear children crying, you hear children calling names. And my sister Judy said to this man who was standing next to her, she said to him, "What is that fire and what is that noise behind the building?" He said they were burning hair. So she said, "Well, if you burn hair, I don't think this would be making any noise." Then he said they were burning cripples. She didn't ask any more questions. I thought my phone was ringing in the purse. Anyway, she didn't ask any more questions. When we got into the barracks the next few hours, we found out what that fire was, okay? The people that they put in the gas chambers, they didn't even give them enough gas. They would push them out the back door and burn them half alive. So we knew exactly what happened to my mother and 3 sisters and brothers. Okay, so here we are. So finally they march us to the, and actually we found that out after we were brought into the living quarters, into the barrack. So finally we come into the barracks, and before we went into the camp there, in Camp C, they had A, B, and C. There was a there was a Gypsy camp, a Czech camp, and a Hungarian camp. So we were in Camp C, and there was a big sign, "Arbeit macht das Leben frei." I don't know how many people in this group know any German, but what it means is work makes for freedom, okay? So we march in there, and we are ending up in Barrack 26. There's 30 barracks, okay? Each barrack has 1,000 people, women, okay? 3 rows of bunks, okay? Two barracks, one is a kitchen and one is a bathroom. So you can see how many thousands and thousands and thousands of people are in this camp. This is a transitional camp. You come, you get selected to work, and you leave. So here we are, we go to sleep, the next morning we get up, and they're serving us black coffee for breakfast, okay? We have no canteens, we have nothing. You take a sip from a pot, maybe a 6-quart pot or 8-quart pot, you take a sip. Black coffee, it tasted like black soot. I don't think anybody ever drank that. People were throwing up from it. Anyway, so after this coffee, of course we didn't drink it, I said to my 2 sisters, I'm going outside, I want to see where I am. I go outside and I'm walking, and I see we have 12-foot electric wires separating us from one camp to the other, 12-foot. You see all kinds of dead bodies around the electric wires. Some people still had their fingers on the electric wires. I don't know how they got stuck on the ground. People committed suicide on the electric wires because it was the fastest way to die. You put your hands on the electric wire, 20 seconds later you're dead. And there's all kinds of dead bodies on the street, and there's people with big wheelbarrows. You know what wheelbarrows are. They're picking up dead bodies. You cannot explain how that looked. It was so horrible that you cannot even imagine it, okay? So as I'm walking and I'm looking around, somebody's calling my name. I said, I knew I was popular. I didn't know I was that popular that somebody should know me in this God-forsaken place. It was my father. He says, Rosie, Rosie, don't you recognize me? My father had like a 2-inch beard. He always wore a suit, a hat, a tie, very well dressed. There's this man in a striped uniform, shaven head. You know, when you're used to seeing somebody a certain way, you have to look 2 or 3 times before you can recognize him. He says, Rosie, don't you recognize me? I'm your father. We hugged and we kissed, and the first thing he said to me, where's your mom? I said, I don't know. And I really did, right then I didn't. It's only after that, when we came into the camp, that we found out what they did, what the fire was. Then I told him I'm here with my 2 sisters, Helen and Judy, and he told me he's here with my brother. They were already selected to go to a factory to work. Now this was a completely all-women's camp, but they were there just for 2 nights, waiting to be shipped away. So we talked, and he says, whatever you do, stay together. You have a much better chance of survival. And then make sure you stay alive so you can tell the world what they're doing to us. So I guess my father already knew. At that time, I still didn't know. So we kissed and we said goodbye. And my father said, I'll be here. We might be here the next day, so let's make up to meet tomorrow morning again. You bring your 2 sisters, and I'll bring your brother Philip, and we're going to talk. And so we did that. So the next day we met, my father and my brother and my 2 sisters, and he repeated the same thing. Whatever you do, stay alive so you can tell the world what they're doing to us. We said goodbye. I never saw my father and brother again. So here we are in Auschwitz-Birkenau. Every morning we have to get up, or lunchtime they serve us a slice of bread with a piece of margarine or butter or whatever it is. I'm sure it's not butter. And then at dinner time they serve us soup in a pot. You take a sip, that's your meal. The pot of soup is cabbage, potatoes, and rice, and a lot of dirt and sand. If you were lucky to get a potato, that would have been a good day. So you share it with 12 or 15 people, you take a sip out of the pot. That was the diet of our Auschwitz camp. So here we are, every morning, we have to go out, they count us every morning. 5 in a row, rain or shine, they would count us, okay? So this is going on for a while, and then they come to our barracks to select women to go to factories to work. Why did they bring us to Auschwitz? So we should go to work in factories. Okay, they needed a lot of labor, that's why they brought us. The ones that couldn't work, they went straight into the gas chambers, okay? So we didn't go out to get selected right away because we said, well, we just got here, what's the rush, okay? There's 1,000 women in every barrack, can you believe it? 3 rows of bunks. So after, say, a week or 10 days, we decided to go and try to get selected to work. And the food they served us, we couldn't eat the food. It wasn't really food. It wasn't even food for animals, okay? So we go out front. Yeah, it's fine, never mind, I just drink. Okay, so finally, one day we decided to go out, and they put my 2 sisters in one area, and they put in another area. They put me in the gas chamber line, and they put my sisters in another line. So, of course, once we're there, we find out what you need to do. You know, you have to learn these tricks. So they told me, if they don't put you together with your 2 sisters, you run out of, make sure nobody sees you, get out of the line. So we did this a few times to do that. And I think we tried selections 3-4 times and no more because they did the same thing, okay? They would select me to go to the gas chamber, okay? And I was not ready to die. I didn't come there to get killed in the gas chambers, okay? So anyway, so finally, after being in Auschwitz for, my son just found out, 5 months, and this is a transitional camp. The average stay is a week to 2 weeks. 5 months, because we were all the leftovers. The skinny ones, the sick ones, because when there's 1,000 women in every barrack, when they come for 200 people, you can stay behind. So this month is the fall of 1944, and we are being transferred from one barrack to another because it's getting smaller and smaller. Finally, they came to this other barrack, and they said they need 300 women to go to a factory to work. So I said to my sisters, you go out and get selected to go to work, and I'll see how I can steal myself into this transport, okay? So as they go out front, and you know, many times they would make us get undressed so they could see if we had a strong enough body. Because if somebody is skin and bone, they're not going to send you anywhere to go to work. okay? So they came to the barrack and they want 300 women. I said, go out and hold the place for me in line. And as this is going on, you know, every barrack had a leader, okay? The one that was giving out the food and stuff like that. And as I'm standing there, this woman who was a leader, she goes to the back of the barrack, and the woman guarding the back door lets her out. Okay, we had a front door in the front and a door in the back. And I quickly run to the back of the barrack, and she says, where are you going? You're supposed to go out front to get selected to work. I said, I don't want to go out to get selected to go to work. I said, my mother just walked out, I want to go with her. Where this came into my head to do that, I don't know. She let me out. My two sisters held a place for me in line. That is how I got out of Auschwitz-Birkenau. If they would catch me, they would probably shoot me, okay? Or beat me to death or whatever. So here we are here 5 months, we are wearing the same dress, the same clog shoes, they're full of lice, we haven't been cleaned in 5 months. Can you imagine? Not taking a shower in 5 months? You could take a shower, you could wash yourself. We had a bathroom with sinks, cold water, and toilets with the holes in them, you know, in the ground. So I did actually take off my dress once or twice, and I washed it, and I waited for it to dry, and put it back on. But there was no soap or anything, just water. So I don't know if you can really wash anything without soap. So you know we were full of lice. All of us were full of lice. So we were selected to go to a factory to work. They're not going to send us that way. They have to clean us up. They have to shave us again. So that's what they did. We went to the bathroom, the same bathroom that we first came in. They shaved our hair. They disinfected our bodies to get rid of the lice. Gave us decent clothes. It's like a completely new thing. Like you wouldn't believe it, the difference, okay? Underwear, shoes, socks, coats, it's already the fall of 1944. So we all are counted, and they take our names again, and they give us numbers, okay? But we did not have uniforms. We wore regular clothes over there. So we each had a number on our dress, okay? No names, okay? So I have a number on my arm. This was tattooed in the factory when we got to Germany, okay? This is our identification. Anybody wants to see it later, you can come up and see it, okay? So finally they put us on trucks, and I think it was trucks. I'm not sure if it's trucks or the train that we went to Freudenthal in Germany. But it took quite a long time. Finally we get to Freudenthal, and it's like a completely new life. Buildings, like a regular building, and mattresses and blankets and everything. And so it's like completely different, okay? They need our work, so they have to treat us like human beings, all right? So, and we're still surrounded by electric wires. Not that we could go anywhere. You know, if anybody would try to escape any camps, and if they would see somebody head shaven and with either striped uniforms, even though we wore regular clothes, they would not recognize the survivor, okay, from being a German person, and they would always give you up. So three of us, we were all given different jobs. I was chosen to do masks, gas masks, to look inside to make sure it works, okay? So I had to sit in a high chair, and there was a bunch of masks here, and I had to pick it up, look it up, throw it down, all day long, 10, 12 hours, all day long. And my two other sisters, one of them was working on uniforms, and the other was working on guns, also in the same factory. So after doing these masks, you know, after 10 days, I said to the leader over there, you know, this is hard work. I have to bend down, pick up, and do all this. Could I get an extra meal? Oh, she says, sure, you could have an extra meal. So I would get an extra meal every day, and I would bring it back to our living quarters and share it with my sisters. Even though we had a lot more than what we had in Auschwitz, but still a little extra wouldn't hurt. So here we are working, and they're always telling us, if we don't do good work, they're going to send us back to Auschwitz, okay? So finally, this is going on, and we get, it comes the spring of 1945, and they always used to come and walk us to the factory. It was within a 5 minutes walk. The SS would come and pick us up, and they would walk us and bring us back. And this is the beginning of May. Now I got 10 minutes, guys. I need another hour. Ask your professor, your supervisor, if you could stay an extra hour. or principal, excuse me. Okay. Anyway, so so here we are, and we're waiting to be picked up. Nobody's coming to get us to take us to the factory to work. And we're not supposed to leave the building. And I said to my sisters, I'm going out. I was always first to do things, okay? This was my way of life. I was always doing things I shouldn't do when I was a young kid, and I got spanked plenty, okay? But anyway, so I said to the women in the camp, I said, I'm going outside. I want to see what's going on. They said, you want to get shot? You can go outside. I said, I'm going out. I go outside, the gate is wide open, all the Germans ran away. This must have been maybe the 5th or 6th of May, 1945. I go out and I hear there's planes over us, going over us, there's I can hear shooting guns, and I hear the Russian language. And I knew Russian because my town was a general public. They spoke Ukrainish, and Ukrainish is very similar to Russian, also to Czech. So. And behind our building where we lived, there were big farms where they were growing a lot of corn. So all these Russians were coming in the cornfields, you know. You couldn't see the men, but you could see the cornfields, but you could hear the Russian language. So I quickly, you know, I was afraid to go to meet the Russians because if they would see me, because I wore regular clothes, I didn't wear any uniforms. I found a rag and I put it on a stick and I went like this in front of the Russians. You know, that means for freedom or peace or whatever. If I would have gone in regular clothes, they would have shot me because the Russians were very easy with guns. So I went to the back of the building and the Russians were there, and to the fields, and they kissed me and hugged me, and I told them who I am, and they came and liberated us. This was May 7th or 8th, I'm not really sure. So here we are. The Russians were very good to us, okay? So I brought the Russians over there, and the next week then we went to bed. It was kind of late already. And the next morning, I get up, and the Russians are coming to our living quarters. And one Russian says to me, do you want to go to town? I said, sure, I'd love to go to town. But I was afraid to go by myself because, you know, this 6-foot-tall guy, good looking. You know, I'm a 16-year-old by then, or 15. I said, can I bring a friend? And he said, oh, yes. And you know, I think he held my hand and he held my friend's hand. You know, I think I was reborn that day. I couldn't believe that we are free. We can do whatever we want, go wherever we want. You cannot imagine that feeling that was in my body somehow, like a new life. And he took us to town, and he broke into some of the, actually he didn't have to break into the German houses because all the German people, when they know Russians are coming, they leave the towns. Because the Russians were very good with their guns. They would kill a lot of Germans if they would see them. So if we needed any clothes, he'd take what you want. So we did this, and we came home. And of course, a lot of us brought food back, and a lot of us got sick because we overate. You know, when your stomach is not used to so much food, you get sick if you eat too much. I'm sure some of you have experienced that. So finally, we all get better, and we're going to go home, okay? We're going to try. We were hoping my father and my brother survived. We knew my mother and 3 sisters and brothers were gone. So it took us probably over a month, okay, to get home. And we went to the train station. We finally got on the train, on the top of the train. We did not even get seats inside. And of course, it took us a month to get home. It took many changes in trains. The trains didn't go every day, and also they didn't go that far. And you know, all of a sudden, the whole world is trying to help us. They're kind to us. You want to sleep here for the night? You can. Where was the world when we needed them? Tell me. Where was everybody? When thousands and thousands of people were gassed every day and killed. Nobody lifted a finger to help us. Okay? So here we are. Finally, we get home, and our house is not livable. So the first thing we do, we go and find the jewelry, of course. Okay? And then we couldn't live in my house because it was not livable, but we did find somebody else came home and they got their house back, and we're hoping my father and brother would come home. We found out from 2 people that came back from 2 different camps that my brother was in a camp, and 10 days before the liberation, they took out the whole camp, put in the forest, and made them dig a big hole, and they killed everybody, 200 men. So we knew what happened to my brother. And then we found out that my father also got sick and he was sent into the gas chamber in Auschwitz. So here we are, 3 girls, okay? We have no future here. My father is gone, my brother is gone, the house we don't have because it's not livable. What are we going to do there? Of course, we're not going to stay. So my sister Helen, she was the first one to leave. She met a young man on the train station who was a Jewish soldier in the Czech army, and they fell in love. We were at this train station for 3 days. You could fall in love. When I first met my husband, I fell in love with him the day I saw him. And 3 years later, I married him. So anyway, so of course this soldier, Czech soldier, he had to go to report to his, he was a soldier, to his group. So he says, here's my key to my house in Prague. You go home and see who survived the war, and then you all come to Prague and we're going to live in Prague. Okay, that was what we're going to do. So of course we came home and we found out about my father, we found out about my brother, so my sister Helen says, I am leaving for Prague. So she left for Prague. And this is Russia, by the way. My town was liberated in September of 1944, maybe 4 or 5 months after we were taken away, okay? So Judy and I stayed behind, and then finally we said, well, the Russians are closing the borders, we need to leave. So we were leaving, and we could not get a permit to leave. The Russians are closing the borders. So Judy says, I'm going back to my hometown. There's a Jewish young man who wants to marry me, and I like him. So she stayed in my hometown, and I left for Prague. I never saw my sister Judy again. She died in 1960 because she had all kinds of problems from the camps. She got married and stayed there and had a son. So I left for Prague, and then we came to Prague, and my sister Helen said, and I stayed with my sister for probably about 6 months or 9 months. There was an organization that was looking for 1,000 Holocaust survivor orphan kids under age 16 to take to England for rehabilitation. So my sister Helen says, I'm going to sign you up and you go to England, okay? It's a 5-year deal, and I think it would be a good idea for her to do that. So she signed me up. So I left for England, and I ended up in Scotland because we went in transports, like 50 or 60 each time, and my husband, who was one of the survivors, he was in the first transport in August of 1945 to go to England. I didn't leave before February. I was probably the last transport, okay? So Sir Montefiore, he found 732 kids. If anybody wants to read the book, it's called The Boys, by Sir Martin Gilbert, okay? It's all about us, a group that came to England. So as I said, I ended up, we had in Scotland, Ireland, Wales, wherever they could find places for hostels, okay? So here we are in this hostel, and there's maybe 60 kids, 50, 60 kids. They're trying to teach us English, they're trying to teach us Hebrew, because they're getting us, they really all want us to go to Israel, because we need a country for ourselves, okay? So anyway, so here we are. So little by little, kids are leaving. Finally, the hostel was emptying out because some kids went to Israel, some kids found relatives in different countries, like USA or Bolivia or New Zealand or whoever. So we came, they said, there are 12 of us left. We can go to Bedford or we can go to London. So we decided to go to Bedford, our group. And when we came into Bedford, which is 60 kilometers from London, they introduced us to the boys the next day, and there were all these boys. And I said, that's the guy I'm going to marry. And that was my husband. 3 years later, we were married. Okay, my husband died a year ago, plus 3 weeks. He died a year and 3 weeks ago. We were married 67 years. Okay, I've known my husband for 70 years. So anyway, after meeting him in the hostel was emptying out. So now we're beginning to speak English. We're beginning to get little jobs here and there. So they said the hostel is closing out. You can go to London. So we went to London. We lived in London. In 1950, we were in different homes where the organization would pay for our upkeep. Okay, we got jobs, and we were married in 1950. In 1951, we came to the United States. My husband's family sent us papers. We were supposed to go to Israel, but there was too much trouble going to Israel, too much killing going on over there, so we decided to come to the United States. My husband's family brought us to the USA in 1951. The cousins met us at the ship. They put us in a motel for 10 days. For five days, gave us $20, and they said, you're on your own. Did I ever tell you that? Okay. Relatives, cousins, relatives. Okay, we've been alone so many years, we can be alone more. We're speaking perfect English. Within 5-6 days, we both had jobs, and we went to a Jewish organization, and they found us living quarters and some families and all that. Anyway, so we were in New York, and after living 1 year in somebody's house with a kitchen facility, we got an apartment, okay, and my husband's uncle's apartment house. We lived, and I worked in the garment industry. My husband tried to do different jobs. He couldn't find himself. After a while, he decided to go to night school and learn the computer business. So he went to night school, learned the computer business, and then after 5 years, we had a friend in San Diego who was in the military, because all the boys had to go to the military when they came to this country. You know that, okay? They had to report. So Max was a 4F because he had tuberculosis in the camp. So my husband came to San Diego after living in New York for 5 years for a weekend to see what kind of job opportunities. He never went back to New York. Within 5 days, he got a job in San Diego with solar, okay, in the computer field, double salary when he was making in New York. Within 3 months, I came out. We had a daughter already, so a daughter Roxanne, and so we are in San Diego. Within 4 years, we had 3 more kids, Steve and Jeff, okay? We have 4 kids, 9 grandkids, and I know we don't have much time left. I just want to say one thing, we are so thankful. I just want to tell you guys, this is the best country in the world. Remember that you're lucky to be born here. And we are so thankful to the military for liberating us, because if the United States would not have gone into war, so many more would have been killed. You have no idea. Probably all of us would have been killed, okay? So thank you very much. Do I have any more time?
Questions.
Okay, some questions, okay? Anybody have any questions? Don't all ask at the same time. Yes.
Is there any advice you'd like to share with future generations after the experience?
Be thankful you're here. Take care of yourselves. Don't let anybody bully you, number one. Everybody has the same right in this country, whether you're white, black, yellow, or green. We all have the same right. And if anybody's going to bully you, report it to your principals. Because if they bully you, they're going to bully other people. And that's no good. Remember that. As I said, we all have the same rights. And this is the best, as I said, the best country in the world. And we should all be thankful for being here. And let me tell you, the whole world would like to live here. But, you know, we only have so much room, right? So.
If you have a question, I'll repeat it for everybody. Another question? Max?
There's currently a Holocaust denier running for Congress in Illinois.
Oh my God.
If you could talk to him, what would you say?
There is a Holocaust denier running for Congress in Illinois. If Ms. Schindler could talk to him, what would she say?
I would tell him, go get some education, because you're so dumb, you don't know what you're talking about. Believe me, these Holocaust deniers, they're not intelligent, smart people. They're dummies. They don't know what they're talking about, okay? And they got to do something, so they're taking it out, and they're trying to take it out on the Jews. Jealousy, that's what this is. Yes. Any more? Well, you know, I am not a politician, so I really can't say go here or there, but I think that we're trying the best we can, okay? I really don't know what's going on. But you cannot compare what happened to us to all the other things that are happening now. We were picked just as Jews for no reason whatsoever. We never even knew what a gun was, and you know what I mean? We were innocent people, millions of children, and I mean, there was no reason whatsoever. We never did anything that they should do to us, okay? Just because we were Jews. So, as I said, I'm not a politician, so I don't know what we should do and what we shouldn't do. That's for our next generations to do. All you young people, you are our future, right? You are our future. You need to do the right things. Anybody else?
Come on.
Has anybody been to Europe? Yeah? What did you think of Europe?
Oh,
Yes, you.
it was really pretty when we were there.
Europe is a beautiful country, really. You go to Czechoslovakia today, it's a beautiful country. You know, I hate to tell you, I mean, we've been back to Europe several times, okay? And the first time we went back to Germany, I tell you, even the language bothered me. I couldn't stand it. Okay? I couldn't stand it. But you know, Germany is really trying very hard to help reconcile. They really are, okay? So, but Europe has come a long way, okay? And it's a wonderful place to go for a holiday. Yeah.
What role did God play in your time in Auschwitz?
Where was God when this was happening? Tell me. I really can't answer that, but all I have to say is, where was God when they were killing all these people? Was he on vacation? Did he forget about us? And us people, we were so religious, we believed in God so strong, we were Orthodox Jews. I mean, we went exactly according to the Bible, okay? And I have so many questions, let me tell you, okay, about God. It would take somebody very strong to convince me that there is one, okay? I lost my whole family, my father and my brother, my mother, they each had 7 or 8 siblings. We had grandparents, cousins, aunts and uncles, over 100 people. Maybe 12 of us came home from the war, okay? That's it. The whole families were wiped out. Of course, you know, Hitler gained an awful lot. They took all the properties, all the money, everything the Jews worked for, everything was taken away. So, look what happened to him. I still say, where was the world when this was going on? Okay? Yes.
Dr. Parrish?
Are you still friends with other Holocaust survivors?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. We are. I have 5 ladies that I met when we left Czechoslovakia to come to England and then the United States, and we're all in touch. Okay. The husbands are all gone, unfortunately. It looks like the husbands always go first, you know. Anyway, so I talked to a woman today who is my age, and I've known her since I was 15 and a half years old, and we had a nice conversation. I was more than half an hour on the phone with her from Detroit. And, you know, we all have the same questions, all of us. Where was God when this was happening? That all our families were wiped out. And you know something? The whole world lost a lot. Because who knows how many Jews that were killed could have found that's cure for cancer or cure for this or cure for that. Okay, because the Jewish people of Europe, a lot of them are more educated than the regular public. They believed in education, okay? Always believed in education, okay? So, yes?
If you were ever to meet up with a Nazi soldier in person, what would you say?
I really don't know. I would probably, if I would see somebody, I would probably just not even I wouldn't even go close to them, okay? I mean, but there is no Nazis today, okay? I don't think there is, but I really don't know what I would do. It's not an easy thing to meet somebody like that. But remember, this is 75 years after the war. close to 80 years. So hopefully a lot of people have learned their lessons and they straightened, get corrected or whatever. I don't know if they allow Nazis in Germany anymore. I think, isn't it against the law? In Germany, okay? Alrighty. Thank you very much, everybody. I just want to say good luck, guys. You are in a wonderful school. You don't know how lucky you are that you have an opportunity to go to this school. How many kids have this opportunity? So make sure you do good and take care of our world. How's that? Okay?
Mrs. Schindler, I am so glad you followed your father's instructions and you lived to tell what happened. I think all of us, and I speak for everybody here, I think that this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You are telling us things that we need to always be mindful of. And we all know that we are the keepers of a world that will never have that kind of horror again. And we have to look inside ourselves and make sure it never does happen again.
Right, right.
I want you.
That's why I'm doing this. I want to make sure, because so many kids don't know anything about the Second World War. You know, the kids need to know what happened. You know, and hopefully it will never happen again.
It will if we remember your words and the lessons of history. I want you to have this as a reminder of the High Country Day. And I know what I would love to give her, Ms. Schindler, a big hug, but in today's flu season and so on, you can't do that, but you're welcome to come up and talk one-on-one, as long as you don't give Ms. Schindler the hug I know we all want to give you in our hearts. Thank you all. See you.